How's it going, everyone? James Martinez here. How you doing? God bless you. Welcome to my website. Thought about creating a video to openly discuss the science behind the things that I have discovered. Granted, our message is not only scientific, meaning it's clearly an observation of what goes on within this world and a perspective unlike anyone has ever seen before. There is more to our message, spiritually speaking, religiously speaking, factually speaking. What I have found and uncovered is literally how creation works. Now, I'm making this video to help people better understand the science behind it, but this is not a lesson on how to go and change the past in a way like what God and I have done. For those who are seeking to understand how to do the things that we're doing, this message in this video here is more of a lesson, but also of a warning. Creation is very fragile. We don't want to break it. Life itself is an incredible gift. And if you've seen the world at all, there are a lot of self-serving people out there who would love to learn how to do the things that God has taught me and go out and do something for themselves. And that's not what this video is about, and that's not what the experiences that I'm a part of are about, and that's not what our message is about. So I have to be very clear about that before I go any further with explanation as to what it is that we're doing here. If you're unfamiliar with our journey, God and I have recently moved through time together, back toward the beginning, went back to the start of life, and changed recorded human history. And then he brought me back and put me back in motion. And part of what it is that I'm explaining right now is literally how things like that have happened. Again, there are people out there who only understand what goes on here in the physical, and there are a lot of people with a very scientific aptitude that only believe in what they see and what they can understand within this creation here. But there are greater things that are beyond human understanding, beyond this physical realm, beyond this dimension. And what I found literally backs up all that data. I had quite the learning experience over the years. It took me the greater part of a decade to get to the understanding that I have now. And then once I got to the place where I was able to get to the place with God, where he was able to teach me, that went on for a whole another time. It's difficult to explain in terms of human thinking, because where God is at is beyond time and space. And so getting to spend time with him there, it's beyond comparison to anything here on earth. The impacts that we've had on the world now are extraordinary. We've literally changed the past, and unlike what people have feared for so long, like a paradox, there has been effects in the present. Some people call it the Mandela effect, where basically you change one thing and it changed another, and that has a trickle-down effect. So if you can understand that we changed things eons ago, and even further than that, that it had literally put the world onto a different timeline, and it changed so many different things. Subtle changes, but I know the difference, and there are some people who are awake enough to understand that those changes have had significant impact on us. One of the things that I really want to help bring to light and understand is that there's this balance between good and evil that we all experience in this world. And because of the things that we have done, there are things that have happened within our creation that have ultimately affected a lot of people. I don't remember the world being this bad before we left, And what I mean by that is there are a lot of people out there who have fallen away from God, or who have been misled away from God, who are doing ungodly, unrighteous things, not only in this nation, but in the world. Because of that, there's a lot of pain and suffering. So again, this video is created to try to help better explain the scientific part behind what it is that I'm a part of. Again, this isn't a lesson on how to do it. It's simply a bit of an explanation. I went through what is called a wormhole, or a black hole, or there are different there are different names for the things that are out there. I know that the system that I found in the creation, the way that it is, God created it this way, very specific for supernatural and otherworldly beings to move between dimension. And angels have been doing it since the beginning. Otherworldly persons have been doing it as long as they've known about what it is that I'm sharing here. And if you've read the Bible, you know that there are other realms, other heavenly places. There are places beyond this universe. And ultimately, everything is connected through these wormholes, or black holes, or the way that God created it in a very specific way. It's absolutely extraordinary. I wrote about it in my first book. This isn't a secret, but I know that I'm the very first person who has been able to see it and understand it and navigate it in such a way to do the things that we're doing. God told me so. It's a really great honor, and it comes with a lot of responsibility, but at the same time, understanding that this is that little white light that people talk about who have had near-death experiences. This is that little white light that they're talking about. I went through it, and I learned to traverse it, and I went exploring, and I was able to get the gist of how these different dimensions, work with one another, and I literally found worlds within worlds within worlds within worlds within worlds. And I went so far that I found God in heaven. And like I said, it took about a decade before I could grasp the understanding of what it is that I'm sharing with you guys here. I wanted to start off with that as this video on this science page, to help you understand that there really is science behind what it is that we're explaining. There are a lot of scientists right now who would love to have the understanding that I have. God called me the scientist. It's pretty funny. But the reasoning, again, behind being able to traverse and move between dimension is just one of those extraordinary things that angels do every moment. It's something that we should all be mindful of. But again, to try to give just a little bit of an explanation about it, there's a physical realm and there's a spiritual realm. And the spiritual realm is really greater than the physical realm. It's hard to comprehend for a moment, but everything that you can fathom within this physical world is going to go away at some point. It's just going to end one day. Like, this is not the creation that everybody is destined to live forever within. Right? We are created first. Those of us who are witnessing and those of us who are living in this world, we are created first off within this material world. So we're born into existence in this material world. And then as we transition, when we die, when we pass on, we go to that spiritual realm. Well, they are connected. And depending on how we live and how we're living, and the choices and the way we are within us and how we live our lives and all that, determines on where we go after this world. And there's certain directions that our lives will lead us to after this life. So understanding what it took to first separate my body, right? Because there's a separation that has to happen spiritually. And when I learned how to separate myself, I learned how to move about in a spiritual way. And then after I learned how to move about in a spiritual way, I learned how to transcend. And then once I learned how to transcend, I didn't really see the barrier anymore after that for space and time, and I was able to basically move about within it. It's something that I think humanity and mankind in general kind of struggle to grasp right now. Most people I know get in their car and they drive from one point to another, however long it takes for them to get there. And sometimes it could be, you know, a few minutes or a few hours or whatever the destination. Some people get in a train or a plane and they fly off to destination, and they go and they make this journey and they get there and then they make the journey back or what have you. And all of that takes time. And right now, when I look at humanity and I realize that we are simply in our infancy of understanding that if we were really operating on a level of what it is that I'm explaining here, we could be there and then we could be back in an instant. I'm talking about transcendence. I'm talking about moving through creation at the speed of thought. Like, there are so many extraordinary things that we are capable of as individuals that the majority of people in this world simply don't understand. And, you know, again, this isn't a lesson on how to do the things that I've become a part of with God. That's not what this is about. This is merely an introduction and on a scientific perspective to help you understand that there are things that are greater than human understanding right now that we are revealing, that are ultimately testifying to the things that I'm a part of with God, that tie directly into the miracles of walking with God through time and changing the past. It's pretty extraordinary when you think about it. Most people live their life day to day, and if we're lucky, we have an opportunity to change the world in the future, or maybe in the present. But I've never heard of anybody being able to make changes in the past like what we're doing. And that in itself is an incredible miracle. And if you understand what it is that we're about, then perhaps you'll understand just how significant this is for humanity. So thanks for watching this first video. I'll be making some more, and God bless you.